All right. Well, all right. I will start her up. And I was trying to think, what was I going to say that was going to be funny? I kind of had it in my head. And like, wait a minute. What am I saying again? Um, all right. Okay. Here we go. In three, two, and one. Well, we begin. This is the last podcast episode that we got going on, Scott Toron. This is breaking news.
No, say it isn't so.
It
Say
is.
say it isn't so.
Yep. This is our last
What?
podcast of 2024.
What?
By the way,
God,
welcome in to the Brewery Underground podcast. Steve Sullivan, and you are, sir.
got her on the chancellor of beer.
Hey, that's right. You are. You are the chancellor of craft beer. And
Yeah, man.
yeah, we have made it.
It really is hard to believe that we got a little time left in the year, but yeah, this is our final one of this year. You're right. We start scheduling the next one that we post after this one will be in 2025.
That's right. And you know what? We also, on this podcast episode, we got some breaking news going on.
What? Wait. Do I know about this?
Are we going to break it right now?
Break it right now. Come on, don't leave them waiting. Don't leave them waiting.
No, I'm going to leave them waiting. Yeah.
Oh, God. All right.
It is the last podcast episode of 2024. But there's also some breaking news that's going to be happening on this podcast too.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Do I know about this? Is it going to
You
be a
might.
surprise to me too?
When news breaks out, we will break in. But hey,
Well,
you're going to
they
have
don't
to
call
wait
you
for it.
they don't call you Scoop for nothing, so I
That's
can't wait for
right.
this.
Yeah, you know it. You know it. Hey, on this podcast, we got a lot of things to talk about. Of course, we're going to be talking about some beer.
Yeah.
And since we love top 10 lists,
Well, we
we are
do.
counting down. We are counting down our top 10 favorite new breweries that we went to in 2024.
Yes. And keyword new breweries. So everyone we list here was new to us this year in 2024. So we like a lot of breweries. Some that
Yeah.
didn't make the list is just because we've probably been there before. So hence the being new part.
And you know what they say, if it's new to you, it's new to us.
Do they say that?
Somebody says that.
They do now.
Yeah, I'm making it up as we go along here. Hey,
Yeah,
what are
before
you
we dive
drinking
in,
tonight? Yeah.
before we dive in, not complicated, how difficult was it for you to come up with just 10?
Very.
Mhm.
I have various categories that I included as well
Yeah.
because it is my list. So there's some other different categories because it was difficult.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before just over the past years. You can have different criteria for what makes your favorite beer or your favorite brewery or something that makes your top 10 list. So it doesn't have to be just about the beer. It can be anything, or it can be a combination of things. And mine are like that too. Mine kind of vary a little bit in between for different reasons, which I
A
think makes
lot
it
of
interesting.
a lot of my categories this year include the brewery experience.
Yes.
You're there in the moment and you're just going, this has captured
Hmm.
the moment of what I like.
That's right. You think about them when you leave.
Yep.
When you talk to them to somebody about them, it brings up good memories, or you're excited to talk about them. And I think I feel the same way. Mine was difficult because I think I had 12 I listed, and I had to cut two somewhere. I can't say who I cut, but they might be in the honorable mentions. But it was pretty difficult to come up with just 10.
It was, but that's what we did,
Hmm.
and that's what we do, and therefore it shall be.
Yes, and we actually give details, so we don't just run them off. We're going to give some details, and we're going to give
Yeah.
reasons why we like them and why they should be on your list.
Hopefully it helps people. We made our list and we checked it twice.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, all right.
I like what you did there.
So the beer that I'm drinking tonight, I actually ran out and got today because I felt like it was important to end the year toasting some guys that unfortunately they're still brewing the beer, but they had to shut down their tap room in Murfreesboro. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Panther Creek.
Very nice.
They're still brewing. I went to a liquor store down the street from me today because I knew they had it and I wanted to get it. So this is called the Panther Creek Panther. We're going to edit that one out.
Yeah.
The Panther Creek Brews BFB. It's called beer flavored beer. It's actually what it is. It's the pale Keller beer.
Wow.
So yeah,
That is great. Great
well, hey,
jobs. Still supporting the local
we are.
out there in Murfreesboro. Glad to see they still got beer out there. And, you know, we've mentioned beer flavored beer before. I don't think I've seen a beer actually named it though.
I don't need them,
That's cool. How is it?
but it's good. Yeah, so
Yeah.
far it is really good.
Nice.
I'm enjoying it. What do you got here?
Yeah, they're still distributing in Murfreesboro and a lot of stores up that way.
Yep.
So very good. All right, I have got. We were just talking about this too, and I've got one for you. It's the new version of Marble Fox, no
Oh,
crust, PB&J. I believe it's grape. It's the original one. However, it's a new batch, and they've doubled the peanuts. I was talking to John yesterday. They've doubled the peanuts in this one versus the last one, and it's amazing. I'm going to open it now. I had some last night while I was at Marble Fox. He gave me a sample of it.
yeah. I was going to ask you that. Is that the breaking news that we've been talking about?
I don't
Is
know.
it this one?
I don't know. You have to
Oh,
tell
okay.
me.
It's
It might be
part of maybe it's some breaking news.
because I don't know if you can see the color. It actually is grape in color. I almost spilled it on my laptop. I have one of these for you, and you will, from the first one to this one, I think you'll notice a difference big time, especially in the peanut butter.
Yeah, I think the one that they had, and we've talked about it before on some other podcasts. It was good. I think it was just a little bit too sweet because there wasn't as much peanut butter in it, and there was more jelly in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
that's a
is
good looking
definitely.
beer.
I forgot what the poundage he said he went from to two, but he doubled it, the peanuts. So, and you get it right
Nice.
on the nose, and then it's on the palate. Oh, you're gonna like this one.
All right. It's very interesting to me that these PB and J mixtape and what Marvel Fox is doing as well. It's really become a thing in 2024,
Yeah,
hasn't it?
it has. It's taken off big time. Like we've known about the Southern Grist one for a couple of years, and then I don't know exactly when Zool got involved, but then Zool got involved, and that's lighting the world on fire. And
Yeah.
Marble Fox is doing a great job with it, and we've seen it from other breweries too, in cans or even when you go to some of the breweries. So it has taken off, and people love it, especially if you do it right. And the ones we just mentioned are doing it right.
Yeah.
It is really really good stuff. And again, this one is not overpowering sweet wise. So again, you'll like this one.
And Marble Fox has really taken off as a brewery in
Mm-hmm.
Nashville too. I mean, they are gaining a lot of attention. You go in their canning business right now is really tremendous too. I know when I went out to Cool Springs Wine and Spirits out in Franklin not long ago, I saw a lot of their cans, and actually I bought a couple. So
Yeah,
they're really getting into the canning business too.
they are. And I talked to him about that last night. And a little bit of a spoiler, but they just signed with a new distributor in town.
Okay.
So when they were at Cool Springs Wine and Spirits, they were kind of self-distributing. Within the last month and a half, they've gone to Debt Distributing as a new distributor. So they are excited about that too. So we might see them even more around town. So
All
and they just
right.
put a new canning line too. But I don't want to give too much away because we may be talking to them soon.
We might be. Yeah, hopefully so. We can check in with the fine folks at Marble Fox. Well,
Yep.
I'm glad you got that one. I make every once in a while, I love going to Murfreesboro. One of the big reasons that I used to love to go to Murfreesboro as far as like breweries was Panther Creek, but
Hmm.
we can still get their beer. But I actually went there a couple days ago. I had to check into one of the tap rooms there. Now we know Deep South Growlers is there. We love them. A lot of the
Hmm.
times I get to the one over by you, but Mr. Brews, which I've been to a few times, I got there and I love their tap list there too. I mean, you got to love the
Yeah.
tap room, and I've been there so many different times now. And I got to talk a little bit about what I got on a flight there because there were some interesting things.
Yeah.
Um,
You had a
we had
good idea. You were excited about some things before you went there
I
too. I remember.
was. I
Hmm.
was, yeah. Because one of the things that I'd seen on their tap list, and I think that when you, myself, and Chris Finnan had done the top 10 beers, we had talked about 903 brewers on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was fascinated to see if I would like this particular beer that they had, and from 903 brewers, it was a peanut butter crunch cream ale.
Like, does it like not the Captain Crunch like that?
Yeah, yeah,
Really? How
yeah.
was it?
Yeah, it was. Do you know what really thought I thought it was kind of interesting, and we'll talk about this at some point. But I was going through my list through the year of how many cream ales I've had, and there aren't that many,
Right.
right? I haven't had too many cream ales, and this one was really decent, but it got me to thinking, what would have been like as a stout, or what would have been like as maybe a sour fruited or something like
Yeah.
that. I started thinking, would it have more of an oomph
Yeah.
to it?
Could be.
Eh,
Was the peanut butter? Could you get the peanut butter out of it? Assuming
You
that's what it was.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the peanut butter meets the cream, and it was sort of this okay,
Yeah.
but I liked it. I did rate it a 4 on Untappd, but it really kind of got me to thinking, I would love to also try that in a different style beer.
Yeah. Yeah. A
Yeah,
stout does
you
sound
know what
good.
I'm coming about? Yeah,
Absolutely. Like a
yeah,
stout or even a porter with some of those chocolate notes or something in there
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Peanut butter. Oh yeah, that could be really good too. And
yeah.
I know 903 a little bit. I think we mentioned him on that same episode with Chris when we went to Great American Beer Fest. They had that Cool Ranch Dorito beer that
Hmm.
we were talking about.
Yes,
It's the same. It's the same brewer,
yep,
903. So,
I know.
so they do some unique things. It looks like.
Yeah, they do, and that's one of the reasons I was excited. But I like the diversity that I got. I mean, whenever we get flights, sometimes we'll look at like the color scheme, and go,
Yeah.
look at that color scheme you got going on.
Mm-hmm.
I had to almost attribute to you because I haven't had enough burial this year,
Wow,
and so I got their pale ale profit maker.
that's a good one.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty good. So I had the
Mm-hmm.
profit maker. I also had from Cedar City Brewing Company a chocolate hazelnut brown ale. It was okay. Brown ales for me kind of go hit and miss sometimes. So
Yeah.
it was I would say it was maybe around average for me. It's probably not something that you would see me drinking very much, but it was all right.
Yeah. Did the hazelnut kind of do something there? Did that turn you off at all, or?
Yeah, yeah, I would say that was probably it. I think
Yeah.
just sort of the combination of it, just the style. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
think
gotcha. It's
yeah,
worth trying though.
it's worth trying, yeah. And then another one that I got was the I love the name of this thing, Fluffer Nutter from Abita Brewing, which was a white stout and an 8% white stout, and that was pretty good. I rated that a 4 on Untapped, and I also got a very little taster. I didn't even ask; they gave it to me. The PB&J mixtape from Zool. They
Really?
had it there. I didn't even ask the girl behind the bar. She just handed it to me and said, "Here, try this." And I laughed and I said, "Well, I've tried that before."
You
Yeah.
knew exactly what it was.
Yes, sir. I tried that before. So it was really good. And then after that, I went over to Cedar Glade. Hadn't been there in a couple of months there in Murfreesboro. And man, Cedar Glade's another place that I really love. And I also got a flight there. This one was like it was all a dark colored flight. I had posted some pictures on our Instagram and some other places. So a couple things I had gotten then from there was it's called the Midnight Sun. It was a black IPA from there, and I thought that was pretty good. And then also it was I think it's called the Semich from Cedar Glades,
Okay.
Semich. I think it's Semich. But let me tell you something. This thing was a wild ale, and they warned me. They said that thing is really, really off the charts wild,
It
and
was
it
wild.
was like the first sip, and it was a 9.1%.
Whoa.
And the first sip I had, I went, "Whoa!" My head snapped back,
Did you,
but
did your
I
jaw
drank it.
tighten up right there?
Yeah,
Like a
yeah.
sour? Yeah.
Yeah, I got it down though. I got it down. The more I kept drinking it, the more I liked it. But like the first sip was like, whoa, you know how that happens sometimes. So yeah, that wasn't too bad. And then
Yeah, those wild ales can be that way.
yeah, and also from Cedar Glade got the Sunkiss Amber Lager. That was pretty decent. And the other one I had was I haven't had enough porters this year, and I'm always on the lookout for a good porter. And this one was pretty good. It was called Nothing But Fun Porter, and this one I rated a 4 on Untapped. So yeah, a couple of them. It basically had in it, so pecans and hazelnut
Okay.
in it. So it was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw your check-ins because you went to Mr. Brews and you went there, and I was like, I was a little jealous that day. I was somewhere else, but you were raking in some good stuff, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, go get it.
Yeah, and those are really good, two great places, and
Hmm.
I certainly hope that Murfreesboro supports all the breweries right now that are in the Murfreesboro area because they certainly need the love.
Absolutely. And I think there's still more room for expansion out there and growth, not expansion necessarily, but growth. We've seen two close down, unfortunately,
Yeah,
but I think there's a lot of potential out in that Murfreesboro area. We've seen it. We've been out
yeah,
there and done it. So even with the addition of Mr. Brews as a tapper, man, their selection is out of this world.
it is.
And,
Yeah,
and Deep South Growlers down the street too, which of course we love.
yeah.
Hey, I was just checking.
Anything?
I
Yeah, I
just
was
was
gonna
checking.
say anywhere else you've been lately that as far as checking in beers that you like that you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to go back and talk about that Fluffernutter real quick. I was like, that
Hmm.
sparked my interest to see if I've had it. I did have it before. Actually, Deep South Growlers had it one time. I only gave it a 3.5, but I bet if I went back again and had it, because my ratings have gone up a little bit. I'm kind of starting more with a 3.8 versus the 3.5 that I used to. So I bet I would give that a little higher. But
Well, and I left something out. I left out a headline. I left out some breaking news.
okay, well, we getting to the breaking news.
But not that
Oh,
breaking
not
news.
that. Oh, ah,
This breaking news from Cedar Glade. Look at that. I actually had sent a picture to you all.
I
Can you
can't.
see
There's a
that?
glare. There's a glare. I
Okay, there's
can't.
the glare. I
Yeah.
had actually sent a picture through a group text to a bunch of us. I was the first person to check that in.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yes,
buddy.
you
On
you
Untappd.
love doing that too, by the way.
I am the champion. I did it again.
I think your comment was, "I'm number one."
I'm number one.
Yeah, I'm
That's
number
right.
one.
I am
That's great.
number one today. I think that's like the third time this year I've checked in a beer, and
Isn't
I've
that
been the
great?
only one. I know it happened at Perrin in Grand Rapids. Not that I'm taking notes or anything like that, but
Right. But
there was one other place this year. I'm like, yes, I
yeah,
got it again.
they stand out. I was at. You asked me a minute ago about where else I'd been. We went to Phala Forest the other day, and
Yeah,
there was one on there like that too. I said, this must have just come out because there were no check-ins literally. He goes, yeah, within the last 48 hours. So I
yeah,
made sure I jumped on that. But it is a cool feeling because our buddy Tom will do the same thing when he's the first one. He loves to send me a
right.
screenshot and be like, yeah, I got it first, kind of thing. But it is fun because you got, well, first of all, you got it fresh because it just came out most of the
All
time,
right.
and
Yeah,
to be the first one to check it in, you're like, I rule the world.
yeah. I know. I
Yeah,
know.
it's
Hey,
good.
we
So
do want to mention a couple of days ago, about a week ago now, we had a really fun Instagram live chat with our good friends, the Hill Tappers up in
Hill Tappers,
Louisville.
baby.
Tom and Brad, how are you
Tom and
guys? And
Brad.
along with
Shout out,
Team
fellas.
Porch Beers USA, who also joined us.
Yeah.
And what a great night. I mean, we
Yeah.
were on there for hours and hours and hours, checking in beers, drinking beer, chatting away, just, talking about beer styles and breweries. One of the ones that I had that night that I checked in, I ain't even talked about yet. Here's another one. Taft Brewing up there in Cincinnati is going away.
Yep.
I think. Well, that's another one where they're closing their tap room, and by the time this podcast comes out, it will be closed. But there's also another company up there that's going to be distributing their beer. But I had a raspberry sorbet ale from which is a fruit beer from Taft, and I thought it was pretty good. I rated that a 4 on tap, so I did like that.
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're going to miss Taft, and they're going to, like you said, they're going to be distributed. They're owned by a big conglomerate now.
yeah,
They own like Moreline House and I think a few other brands. They're all going to come out of one roof, out from underneath one roof. They do the same thing here with Honky Tonk Brewing.
hmm,
What is it? It's Happen Harry's, Little Harpeth. They're all owned by R.S. Littman Company, and they all kind of come
yeah,
out of the same thing. So kind of that same thing. You'll still be able to get it, which is good. To
Right.
what degree is it going to be just the core stuff? They can come out with any new stuff. So it is a shame that the tap rooms are closed because we enjoyed those places, especially that first one, that church. That
Yeah.
place is amazing, which is now
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah. And going back to like I said, our conversations with Tom and Brad,
Hmm.
I think that at some point we're all going to probably meet up, maybe in Cincinnati later, sometime in 2025. Those guys, apparently, I have something in common with those guys because they are also Oktoberfest guys, and they were
Mm-hmm.
talking about that, and I'm like,
Yep.
hey, you've won my heart, man, you've won my heart.
Yeah,
If you, I love the Oktoberfest too.
they're great dudes, and I think what we need to do is when we get on these things anymore, we don't call it happy hour. We just need to
Yeah.
call it happy hours because it's never 1 hour. Never has it been in the history that we've been on one has it gone an hour. They're
Nope.
just too fun. You hope you bring enough beer upstairs,
I know it.
at least in my case, to make sure you got enough so you don't have to run back downstairs in between.
Yeah, and you also have to watch sometimes if somebody's phone just dies in the middle of it. No, we
That can
won't talk
happen
about
too. That can happen too.
bring your charger next time, Steve.
It,
All right. All right. Well, you got anything else before we talk about our top 10 favorite new breweries in 2024?
no,
Anything?
man.
Anything?
I say we get started.
No.
And we can. Do you want to do like we did with the top 10 beers with Chris and kind of do a round
Yeah.
robin kind of thing, and maybe
The round
start with
robin.
10 and work our way
Sure.
up, I guess, if you will.
Yeah. How about you start with your number 10?
Okay, I will start. My number 10 is called Mill Whistle Brewing out of Beaufort, North Carolina. And before you correct me, anyone listening to it, it is Beaufort and not Beaufort, even though it's spelled that way. I've learned that by being down there. But while we're in Emerald Isle over the summer, when we go to the beach, Beaufort is kind of, I don't know, 40 minutes away, and it's a little ocean town or something. But they've got a couple little breweries there, and we stopped in here this year, kind of accidentally. Like, oh, there's another brewery in town, and it was an old sawmill.
I remember you
And
talking about that in the
yeah,
podcast.
and we were sitting there, and it was a cool place, and getting a little history and talking to the bartender, and then couple of guys, a couple of regulars are at the bar, and kind of a couple of older gentlemen, and we start chit chatting with them, and we had a conversation with those guys for 2 hours. Had a little Nashville connection with them. This is one of those experience things, you go
Yeah.
somewhere and you leave. I mean, those were the greatest guys. We took a picture together before we left. Their names were Jack, Ron, and Roland. And we just had the best time just sitting there and just chatting with these guys and drinking their good beer. And the it's called Sawmill or Mill Whistle, and it was a sawmill. They still apparently have the sawmill whistle that they blow once a day at a certain time. I think it's 4 o'clock every day. We weren't there for that, unfortunately, because I would have liked to to hear that or see it. But that was a cool little thing. And when we left, two of the guys left with us, and they were in their golf cart.
Yeah.
And I thought that's the way to get around the beach. Let's drive
Uh-huh.
to the brewery in
Yeah.
a golf cart and drive back to wherever. Go to the next brewery in the golf cart. So I
Not
thought that was
uncommon.
that was the
Yeah.
coolest thing. So the experience in talking to those guys and just leaving there and thinking, man, that was just the best day.
And there's
On,
probably people in that town when the whistle goes off, they're like, it's not time to quit working. It's time
right,
for happy hour.
it's a happy hour now. Let's go to the bar.
Yep.
So Mill Whistle Brewing out of Beaufort, North Carolina, is my number 10.
All right. Okay.
How about you? What is your number 10 there, Steve?
I am ready for my number 10. This is a place that I've been to a couple of times this year. It's amazing. I had not been there before, but my number 10 is Living Waters in East Nashville.
Awesome choice.
Yeah, and I have to say, there's a publication in Nashville. It's called the Nashville Scene, and they do maybe about once a year about certain ratings, like you're so Nashville if this or that or whatever. And I feel like Living Waters should get a prize of you're so East Nashville if you go to Living Waters, because I really feel like this place is really perfect for people that live in East Nashville. It's been built up over the years. It's trendy, it's modern. There's so many different things going on there. And Living Waters is different than I think any other brewery around the Nashville area because it's a brewery and a coffee shop.
Yeah. In a
in a,
good
in a
coffee shop too.
in a good coffee shop
Hmm.
in a growing area, of town. I mean, you go in, the vibe is really really laid back inside. I mean, you kind of go in there and you're looking around going,
Yeah.
this is really kind of cool. It's chill. It's not overly loud or anything like that. It's just kind of this chill place. And one area you might see people drinking craft beer. Another you might see people just sitting on their computers, probably doing some work, drinking some coffee.
Some hipsters.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. And their beers are so different too.
Yeah.
I mean, they have so many different varieties of beer. Like I'm looking at their beer menu right now, and I'm not going to read every single one, but it's like they have a Japanese rice lager, and then they have a Marzen, and then they have a sake, which is called a cherry cinnamon sour, and another beer called that's a blueberry muffin sour, a coffee milk stout, and then they've got IPAs. I mean, they just run the gamut of um of that. And my favorite beer there for so far has been it was the called the Nymph. It was the Imperial IPA that I got there. So I just think this place is really fantastic. And I was thinking about this too. Like if people who maybe they're planning a trip to Nashville, or if you live in Nashville and you're going, where can I go in an area, a specific area? Like if I wanted to go over in the Living Waters area, what else is over there
Hmm.
as far as breweries? Well, East Nashville Brew Works is a stone's throw almost from there. You got Southern Grist over there too. You got Tailgate, and there's some other breweries in that whole area. So it's a perfect spot for people that really, if you're trying to be, confined to one area, it's a perfect spot. And I think that's a great place. The only thing, and it's not a criticism of Living Waters, it's just if you're going there, the parking is a little limited,
Yeah. You,
but they have
you
a whole
sh-
outdoor area during like,
yep.
well, you could sit out there this time of the year, you might freeze,
Yeah.
but during the summer months and the spring months, it's a beautiful place to sit outside.
Yeah, you share the parking with Grimey's record store next door. It's kind of a backlight, which usually stays full because of them. For the most part, like you go in there, there might be a handful of people at Living Waters, and the parking lot's full. I guess they're
Yeah,
all over at Grimey's. I don't know, but
yeah.
we went in there one night. As a matter of fact, when we met Porch Beers USA, it was at Living Waters when they came through
Hmm.
town. So, and they're having trivia night that night,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
packed house. But yeah, great selection.
Well, that's Living Water. So what is your number 9 on your list?
Number 9 is called Tobacco Wood Brewing Company out of Durham, North Carolina.
Okay.
This was on the same beach trip, but this was going to the beach. So we stop in the Raleigh area, usually stay the night, and then we head on to the beach the next day. So this was kind of, we met up with everyone, big giant place. I was started towards the end of this brewery visit. I was getting a little blurry. Things were getting a little blurry, but it
Can't
wasn't
imagine
until
why.
it'd been a full day. I may have had a few beers in the car on the way to. I wasn't driving though on the way to this place, but really good, really nice, modern, spacious place. Full. I always like this full food menus. When places have that, it gives you a reason to kind of stick around and adds to the experience. I remember having a couple of flights, and I had 4 different pints after that. Our buddy Matt was there. I think he sent you a picture. I sent you a picture
Uh-huh.
of Matt, and I said, tell Steve hello. And he did something along those lines
Yeah. In
too.
fact, I was up in Grand Rapids at that time. I was on my Grand Rapids trip. So
That's it. That's it.
in
That's
Holland, Michigan. So yeah, you were on that trip, and I was on mine. It was pretty
yeah,
funny.
that's right. Yep. So this was on the way to beach. So uh, didn't it was just something that was local to the family members that live in that area, and it was a great spot. So really great beer. They've got 32 beers on tap. So it gave you quite a bit to choose from, styles all over the place, just big and spacious, and really enjoyed it. We must have spent 2 or 3 hours there. So recommend it if you're in the Raleigh Durham area. It's a really nice spot, and it's beautiful on the inside and the outside. And shit, man, we put we might have had 15 people. We just threw a bunch of tables together. We all hung out, and everybody was cool, and just a really nice spot. And not even a place we planned for. We just ended up there, and it made my top 10 list.
That's always
So
fun.
yeah, yeah. So kind of a little unexpected, but looking back, it was like it definitely makes the list. So that's my
All
number
right.
9. All right, you got number 9 coming up. What have you got?
My number 9 is going to be it is Mount Carmel Brewing Company in Cincinnati. This is way on the east side of Cincinnati, away from downtown. But what a cool place. We went out there. My cousin Kevin, he lives out there, and he had recommended that place, and he actually took us there. And it's a great place because it's a great place because not only does it have a lot of good beer, but it also has a restaurant basically. Full menu there. You can
Yep.
go, you can eat, you can hang out, you can spend a whole lot of time there, and it's on a really big piece of land. The experience part, besides of course the restaurant and the beer, is it's really cool because there's a big pond outside,
Yeah.
and you can sit around the pond. We were there on like a Memorial Day weekend. It was a great night just to kind of sit out in Adirondack chairs and just enjoy a couple of beers and
Mhm.
just enjoy the view. And I thought that was just a very fun experience, a very unique place that I liked as well. And I'm glad that they're doing well because right after we had gone there about a week later, they had a fire in their brewery.
Oh, you showed me that.
Well,
Yep.
when I say the brewery, where they brew the beer, everything else stayed open, but they had to pivot and get a lot of guest taps for a while. I
Yep.
mean, that was really kind of devastating for them for a couple of months. I'm not sure exactly um, how long they've been back and being able to brew their own beer again. But I think it was just recently that they were able to start doing that again.
Yeah, glad they didn't go completely under there.
Yeah.
I remember waiting for the burger, and it's like, hey, take as long as you want. We'll sit out here with the beers around the pond, and sit in these chairs. If they don't ever come, I don't think I'd care, you know. And
Yeah.
we did, and the burgers were fantastic too. So it was
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that spot.
Yeah. Great
Beautiful
experience.
place.
So,
Yeah, I'm glad
yep.
they're still around.
Yeah. What moving to number 8. What do you got on number 8 on your list?
Number 8 might be a surprise to some, might not be, but it's Cyanide Cider out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Our buddy Grayson,
Mm-hmm.
and I love it because of the creativity, the actual cider that they make. And the creativity is they've got these mixing stations, like little mixology stations, where
Yeah.
you order 2 ciders and then you get 4 craft sodas of your choosing. And he's got a bunch of them up there, different flavors, say raspberry and black cherry and cola and ginger or whatever they've got. They've got a bunch of them. And you mix your concoction any way you want. You want a little sweeter, you want a little more tart or whatever. It's really fun. It's a lot of fun. And if you had 3 or 4 people doing it, you could all have different sodas, which I did one time, and
Yep.
you're all just interchanging, and it's just you're just creating whatever you want. You know, a little more of this, a little less of that. A lot of fun. It's a real neat, creative thing. You can drink the cider on its own perfectly. It's great. I love that. It's more the sour type ciders with a
Uh-huh.
bitter, I guess. You know, more French style versus the real sweet stuff. So really enjoyed that. And if you don't want that, they do have some Crazy Gnome and some other guest tap beers on draft. So if you don't want that, you've got that too. And then they've got Berea Babes food in there too, which is fantastic. That used to be a food truck, and now they have a permanent location within Cyanide Cider in a good part of town that's growing. There's another brewery that's opening up over there in the Woodbine area. So close to the soccer stadium, you could kind of pregame there if you wanted to, or just hang out there all day. So he's got a really cool thing. Their tap room is really nice. He's been on our podcast twice. We got to do one in that venue for Cyanide before it was even open yet. So that was a cool thing. So that is my number 8, and deservingly so, Cyanide Snyder.
A very forward-thinking
Yes.
place there. And the tacos are the best tacos
Yeah.
I've ever had
Yeah. Those
at,
Berea
at that
Babes.
place. Yes.
Yes.
The best tacos I've ever had.
And
Yep.
they put that sauce on it too, and you
Uh-huh.
kind of, oh wow, yeah.
I think
Oh
I only
man,
got one that day, and I was like, I could have gotten 5. What am I doing?
I know. They're really good. We haven't been in there. I don't think where the weather's been nice and they had the doors open. I don't think we've been there during that time. The bay
Yeah.
doors that they've got in the tap room that could open up and kind of be outside. So I don't
Yeah.
think we've experienced that yet. We just haven't been there at a time where that was happening. But a great spot. And if anybody's if you don't even care about cider, go check this place out. You're gonna love it.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
uh and Harding House, I believe, is going to be opening up near them soon too.
yep. They're in a coffee shop too, and I forget. I don't remember the name of the coffee shop, but they're just about to start serving beer. They're in there now. I think they're just getting ready to actually start serving beer. So they're close, and we'll make sure we'll get over there because it'll be a new one
Yeah,
for
that's
us.
awesome.
Yeah,
Another place to go where you can hit a couple at a time.
yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's a convenient spot of town, so not bad.
all right.
All right,
Well, my
number 8 for
number
you.
8, yeah, my number 8 is you were going to announce that. My number 8 followed my number 9. Like literally, we when we went to Mount Carmel, after that, we went to Street Side Brewing, still over on the east side of
Yeah,
Cincinnati. And I had heard, we had talked about this. We had heard about this place a few times. I know Keith from Porch Beers USA had been there and he was talking about this. And I had had a couple of beers up there before I'd even made it to Street Side. But what a very fun and unique place. And I looked on their website because if you go there, you can tell it's in a very older style building. And I wasn't even sure how old, but on their website it talks about this was actually a place it used to be called the East End Cafe, and it was built and established in 1887.
wow.
So that's how old the building is. And it operated live music there until there was a fire that closed it down in 2010. And then I guess, shortly thereafter, Street Side decided to take it over and do what they're doing now. And we got to get back out there
Yeah, we
because the
didn't
day
spend
we
enough
were
time
there,
there.
yeah, the day we were there, we got there probably a little after 8 o'clock and they were closing. It was on a weeknight. And, we didn't get a chance other than to get a flight there. But I sort of think Street Side, when I've had some of their beers and I look at their beer selection, they kind of have a bit of a Southern grist vibe
Yeah.
here in Nashville, don't you think? Some of the different
Yep.
sours and fruited that they do, and I mean they also do IPAs, but they just do a lot of fun different type beers, experimental beers and things like that. Wouldn't you say that's true?
Absolutely. A lot of fun flavors, a lot of fun colors. Didn't
Yeah,
we have a blue one? Wasn't that one of the ones you had a blue one on the same day or in the same trip?
yeah,
You were getting all the blue beers possible on
yeah,
that trip.
yeah. And on our last podcast that we did with our friend Liz, I talked about one of the street sides that I had at the little Marathon gas station, and they do street side in their little tap room, and I've had a couple over there, so it's just it's a lot of fun
Yeah,
to
that's really good. Yeah, we were able to take our time, but we couldn't get too much there when I went with you that first time, just because they were getting ready to close up, and we'd had a full day anyway. But yeah, we got to spend some more time there next time.
yeah, we definitely will. Well, that's my number 8. What is your number 7, sir, of your top 10?
Number 7, and thank God we got there when we did.
Yeah.
16 lots, Southern Outpost, Newport, Kentucky. And you're shaking your head, and for good reason.
How we hardly knew thee.
Yeah, that's right. You had been before, and you recommended the place, and we're saying how great it was, and it didn't disappoint. Um, Good. They were going to come on the podcast, and then they had some
Hmm.
trouble, and they were like, okay, well we're hanging on here. We're trying to get through, which would have been earlier this year, like kind of get into the summer months, the spring months when things got nicer and people would be, more people would come out. And they did. And I say that because they've recently now just closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, in both locations. So they're gone. However, they had a great spot right there at the Southern Outpost, right there on the river. You come off that walking bridge right there, and there's a lot of other businesses right there. I don't even call that whole stretch of stuff, but
Yeah.
business
Newport on
after.
the Levee.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they had the doors open. You could sit inside and look out. We had some food. We did that, and then when we were done, we got some beers, and they were kind of closing up, and we just hung out outside on the river right there, just drinking beer and enjoying the scenery and drink. And they had good beer, and the food was really good. A really nice spot. I never made it to the other location, but uh, just the overall experience there was great. And look, you go anywhere and sit on a river and look out, and it was getting to be nighttime, so the lights were on, and the whole thing, and the whole vibe was cool. But it's a shame they're gone. I don't know if anything that they're gonna brew beer or anything. I guess we haven't heard anything
Yeah, I
like
haven't
that.
heard
It's just
anything either about that. I think
yeah,
it's just one of them things where I don't know, maybe that location, especially well, the one over in Newport. I know that the one up in Mason was their original location, and the one in Newport. I don't know. I think it may have been one of those things where um, going in the beginning, they had a lot of construction costs and stuff like that, and
yeah,
they had almost shut down. Then they had rebounded a little bit, but
it did.
I think that area, Cincinnati is not exactly a major tourist destination all year long. I mean, it's a Midwest city. It's got a lot going on in terms of if you live there and you may want to go up there and get some, craft beer and breweries, but it's more like a summertime destination as far as like certain things for, the Reds or whatever, going through town. So I think that really may have taken them down a little bit of not getting enough traffic in there.
Yeah.
It's not
Y-
like Nashville where, if you open up a brewery in downtown Nashville, it would probably be crowded 24/7.
Yeah, it was just other than a few days, right? For the most part, they're going to
Yeah.
be there. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's a shame because when they were saying this, because I think it was about this time last year, they're like, we're just trying to get through, say, St. Patrick's Day, and that's
Yeah.
when kind of the crowds start coming back, and it's an event, and they did, and they got through, maybe 5 or 6 months after that, and it's a shame. It's a shame that they're gone. And they sent us, and the reason I mentioned the podcast was because they had sent us some beer ahead of time.
They did.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, before they knew they weren't gonna come on, but they to have on, and I think one was a cherry something like a cherry.
Oh, lots of cherry cheesecake stout or
Yeah,
something like.
yeah, it was
I think that's what it was.
fantastic. Oh, it was
Yeah.
so good. I remember that beer. So remember how good it tastes. So anyway, that was my number 7. I am happy to have gotten there once.
Yep.
I wish we could go back and go to the, but it's no longer. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that was my number 7. What is yours?
All right. Well, my number 7 was one that I just talked about on a previous podcast. So it's kind of a late entry, but I had to get it in there. There's a lot of reasons for this one that I really liked. It's called Municipal Brew Works. They're in Hamilton, Ohio, and for people that aren't familiar, this is an area basically between like Cincinnati and Dayton, but Hamilton has a lot of history for me because I used to work up there. Municipal Brew Works. Basically, they're in a brewery that used to be the City Hall building,
Oh yeah,
and I used to cover um, as a reporter back in radio days. I used to cover um, uh, city council meetings inside this building. In fact, I have a really quick, funny story to tell you about this that I didn't tell in the last podcast when I was talking about checking in a municipal brew work. So, in this building, this is probably going back about, 28, 29 years ago. I was covering a city council meeting in this building
okay.
where the brewery now is. Well, actually, the brewery's located in the firehouse, but the whole city council area is still in that building. I was sitting there one night in the city council meeting, and I started feeling nauseous, and I had to step out. And apparently, I had a bout of food poisoning
No, no.
and I could not return. And I had to call my boss and say, you know what, you're gonna have to come down here and deal with the, go in and get the tape recorder and all that. At the time, back when you used tape recorders,
Oh yeah,
because yeah, I got brutally sick and had to go home, and it ended up it was food poisoning. So that's an interesting memory of
sucks.
in that building. But I can tell you, I did not get sick that day when I went there.
Quite the
Uh,
opposite.
yeah. So Municipal Brew Works, I would tell anybody if you've got the time and you can check that place out, go. They have a lot of diverse beers, on their menu, and I love the experience, and I look forward to getting back there.
That's awesome. That sounds great. And I was going to make a comment about it, but I'm going to wait because you have something similar in one of your other upcoming breweries. So I'm going to wait. But when it
Yeah.
comes up, yeah. So
Is that the
anyway,
breaking news that you're that we're
no,
gonna talk
no,
about?
no,
Okay,
no,
that's
I
not the
don't think
breaking
so.
news.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
All right. All right. Well, we're up to number 6. What is your number 6?
Number 6, and this one I'm excited about all of them, but this one I'm really excited about because it's called Urban Artifact, and they're in
Yeah.
Cincinnati, Ohio. And one of the reasons I'm excited about this one, it's in a Catholic church.
Yeah.
It's in St. Patrick's Catholic Church, and I'm not kidding. It's not next to it. It's not. around the corner from it. It's in it. It's in
Yep.
the church. Like you go up the steps into the church. This is a kind of around the side, and you go into the brewery. It's amazing. It's so
I
cool.
know.
We were sitting out there, and people were doing. I don't think they were going to church. It must have been a wedding or party or something. They were going in and out of the church, and they were all dressed up doing their thing, and we're sitting on the patio just drinking beer
And just kind
while
of
all this
waving
was
at
going.
everybody like, hey,
Yeah,
everybody,
yeah,
have
you're
a good
welcome to
day.
join. You're
It's
welcome to join us.
just
Yeah,
another day here at yeah,
the
just
Urban
another day at
Artifact.
Urban Artifact. That's
Yeah.
right.
And they're known for their fruit tart beers, anyways, a lot of sours
Uh-huh.
and stuff. And I didn't know this, but they are the largest dedicated fruit brewery in the world. I'm sure that
Mm-hmm.
dedicated has something to do with it, but in the world. So that's pretty cool. And it's really stuff, really like, we'll say crazy stuff, but they have some really wild kind of flavors
Yeah.
and beers and things. So, but another cool thing, full bar, they've got a music recording stage in there
Yeah.
and a
Yep.
radio station inside of it too. If you
Yes.
remember, so in the radio station you go into, it's in the brewery and it's got these doors that look like church doors of some sort, right? Like you're going to
Yep.
go into this grand and you open it and you're allowed to go in there. The guy's running, he's over there in the corner running his radio station.
Mm-hmm.
He's all quiet over in his little cubby and and people are kind of walking through that room in that little rec room or whatever and he talked to us for a few minutes, walk around, it was really cool experience just to see it.
Yeah,
And
it's fun.
yeah,
It's
it was a
very
really
fun.
cool thing. So, another, Humble Monk was across the street. They've since moved somewhere else, but another kind of destination, little tourist area. You just literally
Mm-hmm.
walked across the street from one to the other. Well, I'm not sure where Humble Monk is now, but they went away, but they've got a new place. But cool little spot. Being in a church, it's almost like drinking in church. It was just, I don't know. I think it just added a little extra to it.
It
Like,
did. Yeah. Yeah,
you
it
know,
was a really good time.
it was, and then we were good with good people, and we were all hanging out, so that experience was there too. And we sat outside, like we said, and it was kind of I don't remember if it was a cover, but they had a nice little patio area out there too, so you go in and out, and just a great spot. And I think the beer was great, but I think being in a church definitely had to get on my list because just that alone puts. If the beer was crap, I probably would still put it on the list for the experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you don't see too many breweries like that around. So
no, and the fact that somebody said, "Sure, let's put one in there," and the church said, "Yeah, go ahead. What do we care? They're
why not?
Catholics. We don't care."
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, Urban Artifact. Before I went there, I'd had some of their beer. We could get some here. We did at one point. So, but not to that scale. That was to see that was amazing. So
Right.
number
It,
six was
it's well worth the trip.
absolutely. So definitely go check it out. You'll see the church, and you won't quite see the brewery until you see the sign. You're like, oh yeah, that really
Right.
is it. Yeah. So, yes, sir. So that was my six. What was yours?
Well, my number six, I'm gonna say um, that Mitch and Rich from our good friends from the Foamy Heads are gonna love me for this one because my number six, they go there sometimes. Common John
Yes,
in
sir.
Manchester, and
Manchester,
we went.
Tennessee. Yeah.
Yeah, even though I've only been there once, it is a new brewery that I went to, and I've had some of their beer at other places as well. It's a family-owned brewery. I appreciate that so much. But it's such a great big space,
Yeah.
and it's such a cool space as well. I mean, you literally, if you're not living in the Nashville area, or if you live in the Nashville area, I should say, and you don't live in that area, I mean, it is a bit of a drive. It's about an hour or so to get there, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of great beers. I just love it. They have food options there. I mean, they have breakfast there. In
Yeah,
fact,
they do. Yeah.
I think Mitch sometimes, because he lives in Chattanooga, when he's coming up, he'll stop there for breakfast. Probably get something else there as well. And
Yeah. You get a beer and a biscuit.
yeah, I know. I feel like that needs to be me one day. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
hop in the car one morning on a Saturday and head on down there and have some breakfast and get a couple other beers. So yeah, Common John. I think that's a great place, and I definitely look forward to going back there in the future.
Yeah, really. Yeah, the outside area is really nice. It's huge out there. I think they have some live music sometimes. Uh, the first time I remember ever going, it took us. We were leaving Jack Daniels, I think, and it took us kind of through the like rural to kind of get there.
Yeah.
Even though the interstate's right up the street, but it took us. I thought we were going to John's house. It was so
Hmm.
rural back there. You just keep kind of, and you're like, where the hell are we? And then you get out there, and this thing just opens up, and it's right there, and
Yeah,
it's wonderful. I wish it were a little closer, but it's definitely worth the drive to go out there.
it certainly is. So, moving our list up, what is your number five?
We're in the top five. This one is called, and I'm going to say it slowly, but when you say it fast, you'll understand why. Hoof Hearted Brewing.
What's that again?
Hoof Hearted Brewing. Hoof Hearted. And that
Keep saying that 5 times.
Hoof Hearted, yes. Hoof Hearted Brewing in Columbus, Ohio. This is the Fifth Ave location. I had been to, they've got another one way out in Marengo or something, Ohio, but this was, even though I'd been to the other one, this was a separate location. I had to put it on the list. The name's pretty cool,
Hmm.
but their beers are fantastic. They do a lot of double IPAs and triple IPAs.
Yeah.
Man, I bet they average, if you took an average of all the beers, they probably average 9% on their beers.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
there's not much below that. There's a lot more higher.
You
You
got
know,
to
and
bring your game when you go there.
you do, and it's so good, you know. And they got cool names like Party at Steve Gutenberg's house and Combat Spandex. And if you see the artwork on the Combat Spandex, it's Hulk Hogan with no, it's the Iron Sheik with Hulk Hogan in the camel clutch.
Oh
Like it's
yeah.
just yeah, it's like this. It almost looks like a hand drawn artwork, kind of 80s
Yeah.
themed stuff. But all the names are cool of all the beers. All the artwork on everyone is very cool and creative, and a little nutty but fun. Um, the tap room is kind of 80s themed. They had like a front of a Corvette sticking out of the wall, like an 80s kind of Corvette, like those yellow ones. And
And we've seen breweries like that before where they make it unique and they make it their own. I mean,
yeah,
if they love the 80s, it's going to be a dedication to the 80s and you're going to see all that kind of stuff.
yeah, it is, and the theme works. And it's not like when we went to Big Trouble
Yeah.
last
Yep.
year, and that was kind of an 80s theme. It was kind of
Gallatin.
80s movie theme, yeah, and it was good. But this was a whole nother level of that, and everything they did was 80s and really cool. But the beer didn't taste like 80s beer. It was much better than 80s beer. It was nothing like that around back then. But
The 80s beer.
they have this little car or something out front, like a lot of these places do, that you can, it's just part of the brewery, but you can get in and sit around and take pictures, and just a neat little experience. But overall, the beer is phenomenal. And
Yeah.
a lot of times when we go, like we're going for Christmas, we'll get some. And when her family comes from Columbus to the beach, they'll bring a lot of Hoof Hearted because it's
Hmm.
really, really high end stuff. So if you're in the Columbus area or the Marengo, Ohio area, just in that area, get to Hoof Hearted or get some of their beer. It is phenomenal.
Hoof hearted.
Hoof Hearted.
Let
And watch out for the ABVs. Look at those before you drink them because they taste really good, and some of them don't taste like they're 9 or 10%.
get some tasters on those. Yeah.
That's right. So that's my first. When that rounds into that starts the top five. Where's your start?
Well, my number five is Fayetteville Force
Yeah.
here in Nashville. That's right. I this place really it's the inside is unlike anywhere in Nashville that you've ever seen. You have to go in, you have to experience it, and I love the space inside. I love it outside. The food options are great. The beer choices are tremendous. I can tell
Mm-hmm.
you that some of the ones that I've had that I really love was like Imperial Menace or Dark Lager, the Mornings of Gold, their Fest beer, and of course the one that was your top 10 pick on our top 10 beers of the year, the Fresh Hop Amarillo IPA.
Yeah. How good was
That
that?
that was fantastic too. And again, we did a podcast out there with the Foamy Heads, and we had the owner on, Parker. I that was such a great day, a fun day. But I look forward to getting back to Lafayette LaForce because
Yep.
they just do tremendous beer, and the space is so much fun too. I mean, like I said, it's inside, it's big. When the weather is nice, you can sit outside for hours,
Yeah.
and you probably will sit outside for hours and drink a lot of their good beer. So that's my number five.
Yeah, and their patio is kind of covered because there's
Yeah,
a roof above it, so it's kind of covered, which is nice. It is very spacious. It's got a certain theme in there. I think we talked about it when we were talking to Parker
yeah,
when we did a podcast from there with the Foamy Head. So yeah, I was just there Saturday just to kind of go hang out and found some new stuff, great beer, and It's definitely locals go hang out there. Tourists will go in there. It's just
Yeah,
it's meant for everyone. So yeah,
it really is. All right. So moving up to number 4 on the list, what is your fourth top 10 brewery of the year of
M-
2024?
number 4 out of Nashville, Tennessee, Honey Tree Meadery.
Woo! Honey Tree
Yes,
Meadery.
and some will say it's not a brewery. It is a brewery. They make mead, but damn it, it's a brewery. And it's my list.
Damn it, it's a brewery.
I am blown away by this place. I was blown away the minute I walked in. This for the tap room alone,
Yeah.
spacious and it's very trendy and it's got this beer and honey theme throughout it, rightly so. They've got a giant patio that we went and sat in at one time,
Mhm.
huge. And I think in the scene that you were talking about earlier was voted number one patio in Nashville at
Yeah.
one point. I don't know if it was this year or last year. They've got they were voted for something else, and I should have done a better job looking that up. Number one of something else too in Nashville recently too. So because I remember them putting a post out about it. So not only that, the meat is terrific. I actually really enjoyed it. It was not what I was expecting. They make craft cocktails there, and they make a lot of them with their meat in them. So the full experience. If you don't want any of that stuff, they've got a bunch of local beers. I don't think they're in draft, maybe in cans, but I mean they've got something for a full bar. And not to mention, we've gotten to know Drew and Ross some, and when we go in there and just, we love to give them a big hug and rooting for their success. And God, I love it. It gave me, I think what I'm most excited about is the whole experience. It's kind of a new experience, and it gave me kind of not new life, but it was like, hey, this is a brand new experience in this craft beer thing. We've been to a million breweries, and they're all great, but this was just something a little different than that.
And I would invite people to find that episode that we did with them because they were great. They have so much passion
Yeah,
for what they do, and I think when we had them on, um, I had I had not been there yet, and after we had them on, I wanted to like get in my car right then and drive on down.
yeah, yeah. And
Or maybe I've been there once. That's right. I'd been there once before we did the podcast, and then I've been there after as well. And by the way, not to interrupt, but they were voted in the Nashville scene as the best bar
yeah,
this
there you go.
past
I mean,
year.
that's what.
So
Yep,
yeah,
that's probably what he was posting about. Yeah, which
yep,
is that's what I'm telling you. They do it's full bar, a lot of craft cocktails, the normal stuff, but then they got some cool stuff too that they've come up with again with their
yeah.
meads and things. Man, it's just Bad Luck Burger Club food truck is out front, which is really good
Hmm.
stuff. And I don't know, man, I just love the place and I love everything they're doing. And what more can I say? It's go check them out. It's not. Oh, and by the way, the podcast very educational.
Very, yeah.
I'm telling you, we learned a lot, and I was excited afterwards. Like, how do we say bees after this? Like, let's go do
I
something,
know
say some bees.
a lot to buzz about.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Very well done. Very well done. All
All
right.
right.
So, Honey Tree Meter, my number 4.
Yep.
What is it, or sir?
My number 4 is Tenfold in Donaldson.
Right on.
When we had these guys on and when I reviewed it the first time, I said, why had that been the first time I had only been there? It's amazing. Because when I walked in there, I looked around and I'm like, I'm at home. This
Yeah.
place is for me.
Yep.
This is the kind of place that I love. I mean, it's a big open space. It has a big bar area, has a lot of TVs for sports. There's a patio. I think it's probably enclosed this time of the year, I would imagine.
I think they
But
do. I think
we
they put some
were,
plastic around.
yeah, got there at a time when the weather was nice out, so it was wide open. And how many breweries can you go to where they have such a great food menu too, and they can do food pairings for you for your
Yeah.
beer?
Yep.
I mean, we did that on the podcast with them. It's like, say, if we're having, like some salmon and blah blah blah, what would that go with
Yep.
what beer? And I had the lobster roll when I went out there, and sweet potato fries with the beers that I had. And I'm like, how many places can you go where you're going to get a lobster roll
Yeah.
at a brewery, and it's going to be first rate? It's not just going to be like, we just slapped it on and there it is. I mean, it was damn good food.
Yeah. They got like I think they've got like a legitimate chef in there and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, and my choices of what their beer still stands at their Station 28, which is a tribute to the fire department down the road. It's a red ale, and then also their Poor Choice Norwegian Blonde are two of the beers that I really loved from Tenfold. So another place I would recommend to people, man,
Hmm.
if you've got the time, if you're in Nashville, if you live in this area and you've not been there, or you're coming into the area and you've got time, it's not that far from the downtown area, out towards the airport.
Hmm.
Go to Tenfold, man. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, don't let Donaldson scare you as far as like Donaldson's so far away. It's not. And you can
No,
get
it's
there. It's
not.
right off of 40. You get right off the exit, and boom, you're right there.
You may have to you may have to plan your visit at a non time during the afternoon in Nashville when traffic is heavy. So get there
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah,
Go out there about one
go for
o'clock.
lunch. Get there for
Yeah,
lunch.
go there for lunch.
Spend the
That's
day.
right.
Spend the day.
All right.
Funny thing about Tenfold, and I showed you this just this week. There's a place down the street, and it's called Nectar Urban
Yep.
Cantina. And I didn't know it going in the place, but it's owned by the same people that own Tenfold.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I mention it is because I'm walking in, and there's this sign, their Nectar sign, and it's got some words on it that says, "Dear Santa, it was Tenfold's fault." And I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, "Well, I know Tenfold. I'm sure it's some funny play." And I didn't know if Tenfold had a sign. And I went and asked him. It said, "Well, we're sister companies or whatever, so we just
Yeah.
kind of just messing with them, kind of thing." So it was kind of neat to see that. That was literally just like 2 days ago, or yesterday, maybe even. So funny little
Nice.
story there. Anyway,
All right. Well, moving on to number three. What you got?
all right, number three, and I don't know. I hope people have heard of this place because I've had their beer before. Did not know how good this stuff was until I went there. But anyway, it's called Seventh Son Brewing out of Columbus, Ohio, and we were back there in the fall. And did some brewery hopping and stuff. So we were at BrewDog, the BrewDog Short North is what they call it, is their location, and kind of talking to the guy, and he mentioned Seventh Son, and it was within walking distance. So we just walked over here. I'm like, holy cow, this place is great. So we get some beers downstairs, and we notice there's an upstairs. So we go upstairs. In the upstairs is as big as the downstairs. It covers the whole top, and the ceilings are glass.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a greenhouse in there.
Yeah.
So it's really nice and beautiful. And then the one wall overlooks the brew house, which is massive. I mean, it's not a tiny place; it is humongous. So we get to that. So I get to talking to one of the guys, and I go, "You think I could like just take a couple pictures of the brew house?" And there goes, "I'll give you a tour." So we walked
Oh,
around. Yes,
nice.
we walked around just one on one. Walked around the place, kind of gave me the history, kind of told me what they did. I mean, these are massive tanks. They got a ton of them, so they brew a lot of beer. And I forget if you said they contract brew for a lot too, but huge place. So beautiful. Hung out there, and we're sitting there, and we see these guys walk in with baseball uniforms on.
Yeah.
And I get to talking to them. They're the 1869 Cincinnati Red Stockings vintage baseball team.
Yay.
And we see them, and we notice on the way to driving into Columbus that day, we saw them playing in the park. They were playing a game. So after the game, they had come
Yeah.
into this place, and I don't know, half a dozen of them. I bet I talked to them for an hour and a half. I think I wore them out. I think they were probably more tired of talking to me than they were playing the game. But they were so cool. They play the old rules. They play with as much of the old equipment as they can.
Right.
The baseball, there's a picture of it on our Instagram. Like the seams on the baseball don't go all the way around; they kind of stop halfway. It's really
Yeah.
they play as traditional as they can. It's really cool. They got the uniforms on and just the rules in place. It was really cool. So part of the overall experience. I mean, how do you not put a brewery on your list when you just that alone would
I
have
know.
would have made
Yeah.
the list? So
And sometimes that's what takes it to a whole new level. I mean,
yeah,
you're just getting that experience that you didn't anticipate, and you're like, I need to come back
yeah.
because this has been a great day.
It was awesome. I would tell anybody in Columbus here, go to Seventh Son, man. Just hang out. It is just beautiful by itself. Maybe give you a tour. I don't know.
Completely. Yep.
Yes, that was number three. What have you got
All
for
right.
number three, sir?
Man, my number three is Barrique here in
Mm-hmm.
Nashville. And again, this is another one where I would tell people whether you live here and if you've not been here or you're coming into town, put Barrique on your list to go. You will not be disappointed. Unique captures Barrique. It is barrel aged beers. There are so many good ones. It's so big inside. The funny thing is now, if you're going in the wintertime, take a coat, take a hat. You may need to take some gloves. If you're going in the summertime, well, dress like you would be outside because
Yeah.
they don't have heat in there and they don't have AC in there because of the barrels. But what a tremendous experience. And I don't know of any other brewery that is like this. Do you?
No, no, not at all. And if you go in, you mentioned barrels. There are hundreds of barrels
Yeah.
just loaded down in the whole place where they're barrel aging, kind of wine barrel aging some of their stuff. And they do sours and they do fruited sours, but not the sweet stuff. It's more of that wine type sour, almost a wild ale in some cases. I think, like you
Hmm.
mentioned, it is wonderful. And they do other stuff too. They do IPAs and they do pilsners and lagers, and I don't know if
Yeah,
they did any
I've
stouts
had
yet.
my favorite there was a Czech dark lager,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you can go into various places that sell they'll sell beer in Nashville, but a lot of times I want to go to a place that has singles and they do, you can
yeah.
buy a lot of different varieties and they can a lot of beer
They
too.
do.
So,
At a lot of
yeah.
places around town. And I go to Main Street quite a lot, and they got a bunch there.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. So
Yep.
yeah, really, really great place, man. It's anybody that's ever
Yeah.
been is like, yeah, yeah, we like
Yeah.
Brewery. Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Yeah,
So,
you do. Yeah.
all right.
I'm
Well,
laughing at the weather thing though,
I
because
know.
we've experienced it.
Yeah, we talked about that a few times on some previous podcasts, but we went there earlier in 2024 when it was about 12 degrees outside, and it was like one of them days we'd all been stuck inside for a week because of
Yeah.
snow and ice and everything else. And we went in there, and there were a few people in there, but it was really cold. It was like sitting out at a football game. It's like, what are we doing? But we're here, we're drinking beer, and we're having a good time, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, it was cold enough that we had just one. I mean, it was like, which I can't say we've been to many places where we had just one, but and that,
Right, right.
yeah,
Yeah, still good times though.
yes,
All
absolutely.
right, so moving up, we're getting close to number one. What is your number two brewery of the year, sir?
Top two. All right, number two, East Nashville Beer Works, Lebanon, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
This is one of the nicest brewery buildings I've ever been in. Just aesthetically, it is beautiful. It looks like on the outside of like it looks somewhat like a church
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways. It is massive, and I think when we talked to Anthony, and you mentioned this too, it is a brewery on steroids. It it
Good
is. It's got
summation. Yeah.
yes. I mean, and it's in Lebanon, so it's a little bit of a haul from Nashville, but not it's doable for sure. It's got multiple levels. Their beer's always been good. I've been to the other location many times over in East Nashville. Very family friendly. Full food menu. When we were there, it wasn't all the way out yet, but that was expanding. They were still adding to that. I use the words in awe. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're in there and you're in awe of the place, especially the first time you see it. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You're seeing the renderings and the pictures and stuff as it was being built was one thing. To see it complete is amazing. So that's another one. Go listen to that podcast and that's a two-parter
Yeah.
because he was so nice to give us extra time. Went into great detail about what that bar offers, and talks about the other one too, not the bar but the brewery, but talks about the East Nashville location too. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that. But number two is East Nashville Beer Works in Lebanon, Tennessee. So go check it out.
Go check it out. All
All right,
right.
Steve, you got number two coming up, man. I'm excited.
I do. Now, is this the breaking news that we've been
Uh,
talking about?
this is not the breaking news, but this is after you talk about this one. I'm going to tie it back into what I was going to say earlier.
Okay, we're getting
Uh,
close to maybe some breaking news. All right.
Maybe.
So my number two on the list is it is the Mitten Brewing Company in Grand Rapids, Michigan. There was a podcast that we did where I talked about my Grand Rapids tour and uh, Holland, Michigan as well. But man, this captured my heart. I mean, the history of this place, a renovated firehouse in the late 1980 from the late 1800s. there's a fire pole in the middle of the brewery. You're like, well, look at that. I remember back in
Yeah.
the day when, that used to happen. You can tour the second floor with like a history of the place. We didn't get to do it that day, but a buddy of mine, we were kind of on the go. But it's also what's also won my heart. It's a baseball themed brewery,
Oh yeah.
and they have baseball themed beers. Now it is a baseball themed brewery of the Detroit Tigers because they're the team up there.
Mm.
Still cool though. I had a lot of great beers that day. The Mango Gold, their fruit beer, the Stretch, which is a blonde, and then I've talked about this a few times on the podcast. The Peanuts and Cracker Jack Porter,
Yeah.
which man, oh man, oh man, I would love to take that beer to a Reds game and just sit there
With some
for a
Cracker
couple.
Jacks and the Cracker Jack beer.
Yeah, why not? Why not? So yeah, Mitten, and they've got a couple of locations up in that area as well. I don't know if every single one is exactly like this, but just the amount of great beers that they do, and that when you talk about experiences, that was a fantastic experience for me. That was that was a great talking point on a great vacation that I'd had up there.
That's awesome. And the point I was going to make is you went to Municipal and you went to Mitten. Both were former firehouses.
I know.
So the one trip you went, you were trying to find all the blue beer, and then now you're
Yeah,
trying to go to all the old firehouses. Is that
I know. Imagine
just works
that.
out that way?
I'm gonna have to scour the country now to see, who else has converted a old firehouse into a brewery. That's genius.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
so we're at number one, and let us know what is your number one
okay.
brewery that you visited in 2024.
I hope I do this justice, but it's called
Let's
Manit. Okay, I'm gonna say. I think it's called Manitou. It's
Matsu.
Manitou. I think we asked. I kept want to say Manitou, but I think it's Manitou Brewing Company in Manitou Springs, Colorado.
Okay.
And we went there when we went to the Great American Beer Fest. We went to Colorado Springs for a couple days beforehand. And Manitou is a little quaint historic town. It's got about 4,900 people in it. It's not very big, but it sits at the base of Pikes Peak. So the scenery, of course, everything out there is beautiful scenery wise.
Yeah.
We found this place and we kind of walked around the town a little bit afterwards, going into the shops. We found this place. We sat there and we were like, the places we had been and the places we were going to, we knew this was going to be our favorite place of the trip. No doubt
Yeah.
about it. The scenery, the food, the beer, the laid back vibe. We sat out like on the patio. It was kind of ran down the side of it and it was covered
Yeah.
and you're just looking out and of course, and this was October and the weather was still perfect. It was like in the 70s, I think. So it was just it was picture, you couldn't draw it up any better than we had. So had a couple of flights, had some food, talked to the people. I mean, people just kept coming and we just kept sitting. We're like, we're not going anywhere for a long time. We got nowhere we got to be right now. So, and we had just driven around Pikes Peak and Garden of the Gods and kind of checked all that stuff out. So I think maybe we could discover this kind of on the way. And look, me Finnan, and Stokes are like, yeah, that is the best brewery we went to on that trip. And it is my favorite brewery of 2024. And side note, the only reason East Nashville Beer Works didn't make my number one is because this set at the foot of Pikes Peak.
Yeah.
The
Understandable.
scenery is just unbelievable. So
Yeah. I mean, such a great time. Again, we
yeah,
talk about the experience. That's a part of it.
yeah, it is. It just yeah, in every case too, the beer is good in every one of these. So I mean that is a big factor. And I didn't skip over much of that, but just the whole experience of each one of these. I'm trying to paint a picture of some of them, and just man, it's just I still think about it. Like I will go back there again.
Yeah.
And if anybody's in the Manitou in the Manitou area, go check them out. They're worth the trip.
Yeah. And go see the locals, the Manitonians, maybe.
Yes, you
I'm
did
not
better than I
sure.
would have.
I'm not sure what they call themselves, but
That sounds good. That sounds
like
good to me.
Nashvillians. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Manitouians, I like it. Sounds like an
All
alien
right.
race.
Awesome.
All right, Steve, I'm
Yeah.
excited. Number one, baby.
Well, my number one was your number two. And my number two would have been my number one had it not been for me going to my number one just recently.
Yeah,
Did you get that out?
yeah.
What?
I think we got it.
it's following along. So yeah, East Nashville Beer Works, my number one. You pretty much said it all. What I will say a little bit further is, I live a little bit further from downtown Nashville, so this particular trip to this one was almost easy for me. It was just going down the road a few miles, getting on the State Route 840, and going out there and going to East Nashville Beer Works, and I love it. I mean, I sat up on the mezzanine half the afternoon, actually watched the Tennessee Titans win a football game,
Oh, wow.
which is a pretty rare thing. Apparently, Will Levis wasn't playing that day or something. I don't know, but
You
sorry.
witnessed a third of their wins?
Yeah, I did. But no, it really was a great time, and the beer is good. You pretty much have said it all. So I'm just gonna say number one, East Nashville Beer Works, loved it, and cannot wait to go back.
I was trying not to give too much detail because I knew you had it coming up. So I was
No,
trying
that's
to.
okay. You got a lot of detail, and we already did a big, as you said, a two-parter on it anyway. So we invite people to go back and listen to that two-parter, and we expand more in detail on that. So
Yeah, one of I said family friendly, and it is. And Anthony tells a little story about, not a story, but how the new one's laid out. So if you go upstairs, there's a sign that says 15 and older.
yes,
And the reason it's 15 is because if an older kid wants to go up there with a parent, that's fine.
yeah,
If they want to hang out and watch TV or something. They just didn't want like the real little ones running around because they can run around the whole bottom anywhere they want to, in the dog park, outside the dog park, in the
yeah.
patio, wherever. But they wanted a space till that maybe just that doesn't happen so much.
No, it's
So
perfect. They
yeah,
thought
it
of
is.
everything. They
Yeah, they
thought of
did.
everything. So hey, what I'm going to do here, and I know you have a couple of them as well. I'm
Yeah,
going to mention some other categories that we put together. So I have some honorable mentions that I'm going to get to here. My honorable mentions of some other breweries that I really liked. I have Honey Tree Meadery there. We talked about them earlier. Big Lake in Brewing in Holland, Michigan. I went to. That was a great place. That's an honorable mention for me. Perrin Brewing in Grand Rapids, another good one. And then got to give a shout out to Middle Ground in
yeah, I like that one.
Murfreesboro. Yeah, want to get back there. That's another great place. So love that one. I have a couple sleeper breweries. Now we just talked about these, or you just did a few minutes ago. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but my sleeper breweries are Urban Artifact and Humble Monk
Yeah,
because I didn't expect the experience that I was going to have at each. Urban Artifact, great place. I didn't realize the whole church vibe was exactly that. And their beers are kind of interesting because they are really sour. But I had a great experience there. Had a wonderful experience at Humble Monk. Didn't really know much about them. The space was awesome, even though it's now closed and they've got a new location that's going to be opening soon. But the beer was really tremendous too, and I really love that. And then I'm going to give a couple special mentions. Our friends with Dark Shadow,
yeah.
they're always at beer festivals. Always love all the beer that they do at festivals as well. And I gotta throw in some love for Braxton Brewing because I went there and they just opened up a new location in Union, Kentucky. We just talked about that on a different podcast as well, but got to throw out, Braxton because it's such a great place. So
Yeah, and you just came from there too, so I can't wait
yeah,
to experience that. Hopefully, in our May trip or whatever, we get to hit there
yep.
to check it out. So, I got a few as well. Honorable mentions. One is called Celebration Brewing Company in Celebration, Florida, which is outside of like Orlando. We were down there this past year. Great little spot. They were kind of brand new. They were still hooking up their tanks and gave me a little tour. So there was a place in Denver called Flight Co Tower. They've
Hmm.
got a couple locations. This used to be an actual air traffic control tower.
Nice.
Yes, the building is still there. You don't go in there necessarily for the brewery, but there's a building around it. But it is there. It's part of the brewery and thing. It was a working one at one time. I don't know a lot of history about it, but um, there was another one in that area called Launchpad Brewing in Aurora,
Hmm.
Colorado, like a space rocket theme. The beer was all the kind of that way. A lot of artwork and murals and replicas hanging and like satellites and rockets and things all over. like
I
on
love
a
it.
pretty large scale too. And they had like 33 taps and really cool place. I hate that I couldn't put it on my top 10. It would have made probably 11. I think that was one of the ones I had to bump, but really great spot. And another one that I would call a sleeper. It's in Knoxville. It's called Monday Night Proofing Company. So it's like Monday Night Brewing. We've got Monday Night Preservation here. I don't know where these names are coming from, but it's all Monday Night Brewing. So it's in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's in the Kearns Food Hall, which is the old Kearns Bakery. So they've got a common space for all the other, businesses and restaurants and stuff. You can sit outside and everybody can drink your beer and eat your food. They had the common space. Kids are out there running around. There was a big stage and like a big screen TV watching football and stuff. So if you're in the Knoxville area, check that out, man. That's a really cool spot. And if you've ever been to a Monday night, you kind of get the vibe in the beer, but this was a different experience altogether. So
Yeah.
yeah, kind of a sleeper. It almost made my honorable mention. I thought that's a sleeper one, I think, because people might not know that it's in Kearns Food Hall
All
up in
right.
Knoxville. So that's kind of my list, man.
I am also gonna throw in one more that
Sure.
I meant to put on my list, and that's Darkness that I went to
Ah,
right after Thanksgiving. Darkness Brewing in Newport, Kentucky, and that was also an awesome place. I only had one beer there, so I'm gonna hold off maybe on talking about them a little bit more. I think when we all get there
yeah.
and have more of a better experience of that place. But can't wait to get back to Darkness. So got to give them a little love too.
And we're going to Party Source, so we're definitely going to go there.
Yes. All right. Well,
Isn't there? Are we missing? Is there something we haven't been told yet? You've been making us wait.
oh, are you talking about the fact that this is our very last podcast
For 2024.
for
No,
2024?
2024. That's kind of
Yeah.
it, but I think there's something else. I feel like there's something else. I can't quite put my
Yeah.
thumb on it. You're holding out on us a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have some breaking news, and this is pretty big breaking news.
All
So,
right.
on the last podcast, one of the last podcasts, actually, it was two podcasts before this that we did on our top beers for 2024. We rated our top 10, you, myself, and Chris Finnan.
Mm-hmm.
And we always talk about sometimes you can have a beer and you drink it again and you go, I like this beer more than I had it the first time. Or maybe you don't.
Right.
Well, it just so happens that one of my top 10 beers I drank and I like it more than I did the first time. And not only do I like it even more, so we're going to say which one this is right now. It is the Great Lakes Juicy Vivacious Double IPA that I ranked number 4 on my top 10 list of 2024.
Amazing.
I had it a second time. I liked it so much, and I started looking at the rankings, and I went, it has ascended. It has gone up.
Gone up, people.
I'll t- You want to know how far up it has gone?
I would love to.
Well, it has gone up further than number 3. It has jumped over number 2,
I feel like this was a Price is Right game. Go ahead.
and it has vaulted over number 1. It even beat out the Founders
Ultimate Oktoberfest.
Thank you.
That's
Edit that out. It
a,
even beat out Founders Ultimate Oktoberfest. So
wow.
I am ending 2024 with this breaking news announcement that I am rating the Juicy Vivacious Double IPA not only as my number 1. I did not rank any beer in 2024 as a 5 on Untapped. And right now, I am hitting the button
Oh wow. We're
and
witnessing it.
huh?
We're witnessing this.
Yes, I am hitting the button right now. It's hard to see on the camera with the
Yeah.
glare. But as of right now, in real time, here we go. I am ranking the Juicy Vivacious Double IPA as a 5 and
Look at
my
that.
number 1 beer of 2024.
Wow.
Checking it in right now, and there
Boom.
you go.
Boom. The ratings have completely. The average rating has
Boom.
now gone up.
Boom.
Boom. Look at,
Boom.
look at it. I just got a notification. Steve has checked in Juicy Vivacious Double IPA by Great Lakes Brewing. Let me see. Let me check your score. Let's see if it's 5. It's a 5, people. It's
Yep.
it's a 5.
It's official.
I
It's a
love it.
5. That's my number one.
I love it. Two quick questions.
Yep.
Not only is it your number, well, it's the only 5 you gave in 2024. Is it the only beer you've ever given a 5?
No, I think back in the day when I was really excited, there were a couple of Oktoberfests,
Oh, okay.
like the Sam
Yeah,
Adams, that I rated a 5. There's probably a couple others, but there haven't been too many.
not too many. No, you
Not
save
too
those
many.
5s for special
Nope.
occasions. Yep.
Yep. So
And the other
that's it.
shocking thing about that is it's an IPA, and you've mentioned this recently how your love for IPAs is growing, and because of that Vivacious series.
I know I'm going to be part of a whole new crowd now, the IPA crowd. They're going to really think I'm cool. They're like, he's always checking in all these fruit
Yeah.
beers and all this other kind of stuff. What's going on, Steve?
Yeah, when you go into a brewery and all these people are going to the back, but they don't let you, that's what they're
Yeah.
doing. They're going to the IPA room. Now you're
I
allowed in.
know. I'm going to be a part. I'm going to be called Mr. IPA now.
It's okay.
So
He's cool. They let you in now.
he's all right now.
It's all right, yeah.
He don't look all right, but he's all
He's
right.
all right. He's one of
Yeah.
us now. Well, congratulations on the 5 and the growing appreciation for IPAs.
There you go. All right. Well, you know what they say, when news breaks, we got it right here.
Well, that was breaking news and it blew me away. So that was a great way to end 2024.
All right. Well, you know what? I think we're good. I think that we're going to be back very soon in 2025 to let you know more of what's going on with us.
We got some fun and cool stuff coming. So just stay tuned.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody,
Happy New Year.
from the Brewery Underground podcast.
Cheers.
See ya.
Peace.